Hi everyone. Many of us are familiar with the concept of using diminished scales, chord shapes and arpeggios over dominant 7th chords whose root notes are a semitone below that of the diminished. For example, over a D7 chord, the E-flat octatonic or diminished scale may be used. Playing an E-flat diminished 7th arpeggio over a D7 chord produces a flat 9th sound. Regardless of the E-flat diminished 7th arpeggio's inversion, a D7 flat 9 sound is always produced. By taking the same concept but using dominant 7th chord shapes instead of diminished, different extensions and alterations can be introduced with each inversion. For this concept, the idea of a chord shape is really a collection of notes, typically 4, which is taken from the dominant chord's relevant octatonic scale. In other words, from the octatonic scale beginning on the note a semitone above the dominant's root note. This chord shape, for example, is taken from the C octatonic scale. In its initial position, it uses only 2 notes of the underlying B7 chord, and adds the flat 9th and 13th extensions. Moved down a minor third, its next position again uses 2 notes of the B7 chord and adds the flat 9th and sharp 11th. Its third position adds the sharp 9th, and its final position adds the flat 9th. With all of these inversions, different combinations of chord notes and altered and extended notes are produced. Depending on which notes are included in the chord shape, the resulting chord and its sound can be changed by adding more or less alterations. For example, this initial chord shape includes 2 notes from the underlying B7 chord, with each subsequent chord shape position also including at least 2 notes, or sometimes 3. In this way, the chord shape is more diatonic with the underlying chord. If we use this shape, which initially includes no notes from the underlying chord, each position typically includes more extensions and alterations than the chord shapes of the previous example. As well as being used over static dominant chords, this concept can be used over dominants in cycle of 5th progressions. In these instances, typically the chord shapes descend chromatically or ascend in major seconds, although other movement is also possible. Here, the chord shape from the first example descends chromatically over the partial cycle of 5th progression, producing the flat 9th and 13th over the B and A dominant 7th chords, and the sharp 9th over the E and D7 chords. When the same shape ascends in major seconds, the following extensions and alterations are produced. Along with playing these shapes as chords, they can also be used as the basis for lines over static and moving dominant 7ths. In the song Lover Man, for example, Django Reinhardt uses the following 4-note chord shape taken from bar 7 of the tune, but here uses it over both the C7 and E-flat 9 harmonies. The notes of this chord shape are taken from the same octatonic scale beginning on C sharp. C sharp is a semitone above the C7 chord, while the note E, the scale's 3rd degree, is a semitone above E flat. Over the C7 harmony, the 4 notes produce the sharp 9th, 5th, 13th and 7th degrees, while over the E-flat 9 chord they produce the root note, 3rd, 5th and sharp 11th. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.